What's up, fight fans? Welcome back to the MMA Savvy podcast. It's your favorite host, Ari Weiss. And today we'll be discussing UFC Fight Night, Lewis vs. Teixeira, that went down Saturday night in Nashville. Then we'll also preview UFC 318, Poirier vs. Holloway 3, that takes place in New Orleans this coming weekend. In standard Savvy fashion, we'll go through the card, analyze all the big fights, and drop our official MMA Savvy fight picks. So with that, let's go straight to the card and get rolling. Okay, let's go. UFC Fight Night, Lewis vs. Teixeira, that took place Saturday night in Nashville. Listen, I was pumped. I told you that Nashville crowd would be great. I love when we're outside of the Apex, doing it big in these different cities, giving these smaller town crowds time to shine. I will say, I thought it was going to be a little bit louder in Nashville, though. I wasn't like that pumped up on the crowd noise. I thought that was going to be a little bit crazier. But anyway, the card was great. But I gotta say, it's marred by an early stoppage, and that's gonna sort of be the asterisk on this card, sadly. It would have been perfect. Lewis did land the big punch, but it's marred by the stoppage, baby. So anyway, let's break it down. We're just gonna discuss the four last fights of the main card. We're gonna go straight to the fight of the night, Landwehr, Poirier. And we almost call it, me and Richie Boy almost called Nate the Train. Poirier did take round one. It was a closely contested round one, but he did more, had better strikes. He tried the wrestling a little bit, but then Nate the Train woke up with the crowd behind him. I didn't realize he was from Tennessee. He started throwing great shots. He was very aggressive. He sort of led the charge. He was always first in the exchanges. Even though Poirier rallies a little bit near the end of the round, Nate the Train definitely steals round two, and it all goes down to the third round. And I guess something happened in the damn corner, but Poirier's corner basically said, hey, start boxing a little bit more aggressively. They come out, Nate the Train sets the stage, he stays active, and then Poirier just starts throwing crazy bombs. And I'm like, oh my God, he's going for it, right? He clips Nate, he hurts him, and then more strikes, and he's able to finish the fight. He kind of knocks him down. The ref has to step in, sadly, because Rich and I almost called that underdog, baby. It looked like it was going the Train's way. It was 1-1. He had all the momentum, and then boom, Poirier jumped up and showed you why he was the minus 260 favorite. And now that scary guy from France, even though he had that loss to Wood, he's right there, maybe outside of that top 15 in the featherweight division. And at least the Train gets some money in his pockets for being fight of the night, and he did bring it, so hats off to both guys there. But now the top three biggest fights of the card, let's analyze those next. So remember, my theme was the old guy with the ranking who had been dwindling, and they're kind of colliding with this up and coming next gen, if you will, the future of the sport. So Kattar, number 14 in the world, against Garcia. And I thought Kattar was going to stand up to him more, man. I mean, listen, Nico and I both took Garcia. Richie had the balls to take Kattar. I thought this was going to be a little bit more of a scrap. Honestly, yes, Kattar stayed in there, but from the beginning, Garcia's more busy. He's just throwing more. The aggressor, he's on his front foot. He's not letting Kattar really get into any rhythm, but he's much more calculated. He's not going for broke because he knows Kattar has a great chin, so he's not thinking he can get a stoppage right away like those other fights that he was getting first-round knockouts, okay? But Garcia just kept the pressure on. He wins round one, close, but he wins round one pretty decisively. Then he gets round two. He just throws more, and you're just like, oh, my God. But before we get to round three, the weird thing is, why did Kattar not show up? You've lost 4 straight. If you lose here, your career could be over, whether it's a decision or a knockout loss. Why are you not going for broke? And again, it's easy for me on the couch to say, why aren't you throwing more? Maybe Garcia is that good. But bro, your career is dwindling. How many times have we had this discussion recently? You need to fight a lot like Buckley. I keep citing Buckley, even though he was down in that Usman fight. As soon as they went to the feet, he went for broke. So as soon as Kattar loses round two, in round three, he should have been charging. He should have been going for it. And if anything, Garcia went for it more, even though he knows he's up in the fight. And he even drops Kattar in the third. He almost gets the finish. Kattar tough enough to stay in the fight. But man, Garcia sweeps all rounds, unanimous decision on the cards. hats off to him, because now he's number 14 in the world, and he's going to get someone in the 8, 9, 10, 11 range, probably later in the year. Maybe, it's only July. He could even fight twice again this year, or at least one big fight near the end of the year. So look out for Garcia, a new American hopeful at featherweight. Kattar, on the other hand, is probably, you're probably going to get cut now, because he wasn't even really in the fight. It's one thing if he had been battling and he was in the fight the whole time, but after round 2, he's like, all right, I'm outclassed here. I'm just going to give this fight away. No disrespect to Kattar. We're huge Kattar fans. It just was a bit perplexing. I feel like I've been saying this a lot recently, like with the Hill Roundtree, just sort of like let the fight just disappear. Cool. I'm just going to accept the decision loss. All right, let's move on. Co-main event. Number 12 in the world, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Gabriel Bonfim. And it was a similar story, at least with the pre-fight analysis going in. But I got to say, Wonderboy, unlike Kattar, really stepped up here. Bonfim was smart enough to kind of go for the grappling and try to smother Wonderboy a little bit. And so he steals round 1. But I got to say, Wonderboy's takedown D was way better than it was against Burns and Muhammad and Rachmanov, right? Weidman came on. They had Weidman come on. He said, hey, man, he's been working, I know he's 42 years old, but he had been working much harder for this fight. He was really trying to go out there and get that win and not just sail off into the sunset with a bad decision loss. So he did fight much harder. Then in the second round, he goes for the left kick. Bonfim checks the kick. He sort of shatters his shin a little bit there, but he kept kicking, and he even got a kick near the end of the round that basically stole him the round, and it was 1-1, and he almost, man, if the bell hadn't saved Bonfim at the end of the second, Wonder Boy might have had a chance to get a victory there. I was losing my mind. And then in round 3, at least Wonder Boy went for it, even with sort of the fractured shin. Cormier kept talking about it, right, was Lorosenko. They kept bringing up, oh my God, that looks terrible, but he just kept kicking. And he even almost landed. It looked like he had landed another head kick, but Bonfim, to his credit, he was smart. He kept the grappling. He did get some good shots in there. And even though it was a split decision when it came down to the end, I think clearly Bonfim won 1 and won 3. Wonderboy was in it. I got to say, I wish he threw a little bit more in the third, because you were there. It was the third round. It was up for grabs. Throw a couple more punches, a couple more kicks. I know you're trying to avoid the takedown, but do you just want another bad decision loss? A couple more strikes that have landed. He maybe could have stolen that third round, because Bonfim didn't really do that much. So anyway, a little bit disappointed in Wonder Boy, but also it was a very valiant effort. He really fought. He really went for it. He almost had a couple chances where he could have won the fight. So, hats off to Wonder Boy. I think he only has like one more fight left, but 42 years old, still doing it like that. Very impressive. And then back to Bonfim. I don't know if I was that impressed by this victory, but he still gets the victory. He's number 12 in the world. And sometimes you just need to get the dub and get your ranking and then move up. And again, listen, Wonder Boy is very dangerous. So as much as we say, oh, wow, why didn't you just mow through him like other guys have? It's easier said than done. Okay. So Derrick Lewis, Tallison Teixeira, main event. And of course, I had been scoffing at this main event, saying Lewis is not the same guy. Should he really, be billed at the top of the card? I don't know, but he still was number 9 in the world versus number 13 Teixeira. And I gotta say, this would have been so amazing, because remember in the pre-fight analysis, I said, hey, we are going to be rooting for these guys, right? We are going to be going for our boys one last time. Wonder Boy almost does it. And then the fight starts. Interesting thing here was Teixeira got a decent punch in on one of Lewis's eyes, and it almost looked like an eye poke, but Herzog was smart enough to not stop it because it was actually a punch. And it looked like, oh God, Lewis is in trouble here because his vision was impaired. And he then just starts throwing bombs, and he catches him with his unbelievable left, drops Teixeira, and we're like, oh my God. And then he does range shots on him. He probably threw like a good 10 shots in a 20-second, 15-second period. But the weird thing was, yes, he was raining shots, but Teixeira was getting up. It wasn't like kind of going up and down and up and down and almost getting knocked out and coming back up. And if that had happened, that would have been one thing. But he fully was coming up right as Lewis threw another hook. And then right as Teixeira was getting up, he was fine. Herzog steps in, and it was just very perplexing. It was a terrible stoppage. I don't usually go nuts. Sometimes Rogan and them are very negative towards like, oh my God, that was the worst stoppage I've ever seen. That one was bad, though. And it ruined the night for us because not only is Teixeira robbed of his undefeated record, he was still in the fight, but I feel like Lewis is robbed too because he should have got a just victory. If they had let Teixeira come up, Lewis might have just caught him one more time and he would have went down, and then there would have been no controversy, and Lewis would have had one of the best wins in a while at 40 years old in front of the crowd in Nashville. And yes, he was still happy to get the win. When the ref stops it, the ref stops it. Surprisingly, too, Cormier and Senko weren't complaining a lot, but I think that's because Joe wasn't there to start the complain bus on this. But I'm like, what are you guys, company men? You know, they should have been live complaining about that much more than they were. And so, yes, listen, Lewis still looked great. He still dropped him. Unbelievable hands at the age of 40. He still deserved the win, but that's unacceptable. That's just unbelievable because Herzog is a quality ref. There's no way you can ever make that stoppage. I know he was trying to protect him because Lewis did throw like 15 different punches that were landing, but the guy was getting up. It's a lot like that Woodson stoppage with Ige recently, and I'm like, come on. So what was a great night of fights gets kind of ruined because it was this anticlimactic feeling of we all wanted to be excited for Lewis, but not in that way. I just wish we had a better finish there for Lewis and for Teixeira and for all the fans there. But I will say now Lewis is still relevant because even though he's 40, he maintains his number 9 ranking. That was pretty impressive. And so right when you think Lewis is done, he's going to get someone in that 4 through 5 through 6 range, right? So he's going to get a big fight. And if he gets another knockout, he's still lurking there as a top contender. So in that sense, I'm happy, but I just wish it didn't go down that way. Okay, let's take one break from our sponsors. Okay, and we're back to the show, baby. Let's go. UFC 318, Holloway versus Poirier 3. Listen, let me just stop here. I know Rich does not agree with me, but even though I'm a fight fan, and listen, I'm still going to watch it. I'm still going to be excited. It is a good lightweight matchup, but this hands down has got to be one of the worst pay-per-views in UFC history. Now, listen, I can go back and probably scour the internet, and I'm sure I can find some other really light pay-per-views that maybe were decimated because of some last-minute injuries. But this is unfair. This has been planned for months. And even if you are going to have this nonsense BMF belt as your main, it should have been the best co-main ever. Real talk here. This is not a main event fight on a pay-per-view. This is a main event fight on a fight night. I know other people will disagree with me that like the BMF belt, but it's meaningless. It means nothing. It was kind of funny at first when it was Diaz Masvidal because they like to talk a lot of crap and they have like the street cred. Fine, I accepted it then. But the fact that years later we're still dealing with this and us top fans are supposed to pretend like this means anything. I mean, Chael Sonnen does say in the locker room you get a lot of respect. Fine, whatever. If Uncle Chael says it, Wally might agree a little bit, but it is rubbish. I don't care what Rich thinks. I told you I'm going to be straight up with the fans. I still like the fight, but the fact that this is a pay-per-view main event makes me so just disappointed and bummed in the sport and bummed in my guy Dana. Okay, let's unpack this. Rapid fire, we're going to do our picks. One quick thing, how is Vettori, number 10 in the world, versus Brendan Allen, number 11 in the world at middleweight? How are they not on the main card? That's ridiculous. Even if Vettori hasn't really been performing up to snuff, and I know Brendan Allen's lost a couple, it's still 10 versus 11 in the world at middleweight, the world's number 1 division. That should open the night. What are you thinking here? Another thing that's just head scratching. But okay. Main card, Michael Johnson, Daniel Zellhuber. Now listen, I love Michael Johnson. He's been around a long time, especially when he got that unbelievable win against Ferguson. And since then, I've always loved him. And he's kind of been a journeyman. He wins, he loses, he wins. He is on a 2-fight win streak. Let's take a look at the records here. Michael Johnson now is 24-19, and Zellhuber, the kind of new phenom, maybe rising star, he's 15-2. It's just, it's a good lightweight scrap. I like it because Michael Johnson, whether he knocks someone out or he gets knocked out, he's always in an exciting fight. But this is a prelim. I don't understand how the hell we're opening the main card with that. That being said, let's just analyze it really quickly. I would love to take my boy MJ here, okay? But Zellhuber, as you can see, is a minus 345. Let's just look at what he's done. So he had won 3 straight, as you can see, and then he loses a split decision to Nico's boy, Ribovics, right? But he's still, you know, he's on the rise right now, okay? So all 3 savvy bros are taking him, Rich and myself and Nico. And for the people turning into Savvy for the first time, I am going to be addressing my Savvy co-hosts, Nico and Rich. They're not on the show today, but they're on the other shows that you can see back in our catalog. So I will be calling them out and referencing them for clarity here. So that's the first one. We all take Zellhuber. Sorry, Johnson. We're going to be rooting for you, but we just can't do it. Okay, second fight of the night. At least we got some rankings here. We got Ige, number 12 featherweight in the world. We love Ige. Is coming off that big win against Woodson versus Patricio Pitbull, the ex-Bellator double weight champ. Look, if we look at the records, Ige is 19-9. Pitbull is 36-8. Now listen, let's just look at what Ige has done here. Ige had lost to Lopez and to Murphy, but those are superstars of the division. And then he beats Woodson. Now, Woodson was maybe up in that fight, and then Ige hit him with the big punch in the 3rd round, and it was a premature stoppage, speaking of that. But at least he got the dub. He's got crazy heavy hands. Pitbull, of course, as we know, we can see here, coming off the loss to Rodriguez. He was in the fight in the first couple rounds, right? And then he got nailed and knocked down in the 3rd round and lost the unanimous. So this is really tricky here because maybe Pitbull rallies. Maybe this is the fight that he needed. Dan Ige is down much lower on the totem pole in the featherweight division, but all 3 savvy bros are taking Ige because his knockout power coming off the win against Woodson, and none of us trust Pitbull now. And I say it's the Bellator curse. Until I see one of these guys win as they're moving over, including Pico, which is going to be coming up in a couple weeks, I don't trust these guys. I just think Pitbull is past his prime, and I just think Ige has such heavy hands, and he is the minus 166 favorite, but this is the one to look out that could be a very, very close contested fight. Okay, let's keep rolling. Holland versus D-Rod, Richie's boy, Rodriguez. Now listen, Holland now is number 14 in the world at welterweight. So he finally has a ranking, and he's been listening to me, staying at the weight class. Let's look at the records here. Holland now is 28-13. D-Rod 19-5. Okay. And so this is a tricky one, but let's look at the odds here. Right now, Holland is minus 450. And the reason why he's so heavily favored is because D-Rod likes to stand. And that's Holland's main skill, right? So if you want to stand with Holland, you better be an elite striker like a Wonder Boy. Otherwise, you're in big trouble. And especially since he's coming down, he's got the size, he's got the range, and he does have the power to deal with the welterweight. Just look really quickly, though. D-Rod had kind of gone on a bad little run there and losing to Gastelum, but then he's now beaten Morono in a split decision. And then that's against Ponzinibbio, where he knocked him out in the 3rd round. So he's hot again now. So this is actually a great fight. I do like this one. I know I've been dissing the Holland fights a lot, but at least it's in a weight class where he can make noise, and D-Rod's coming off the back-to-back wins. Before I make our picks, though, I will say, I wish Holland fought up, though. It's almost like he's rushing to get a paycheck. He should have fought up. He came off that unbelievable win. He should be fighting someone up the rankings, a 9 guy, a 10 guy, you know, an 8 guy, something like that, instead of fighting down. And now it's risky because if D-Rod knocks him out, boom, it derails him again. Okay, Nico and Wally both taking Holland here. I just don't see D-Rod having the chance with the range, with the reach, and now Holland is just too hot at this new weight class. But Richie boy is taking D-Rod and going against us and taking the major underdog. He does have a puncher's chance. I like this. This could be fight of the night. So let's see if Richie can get an upset here. Okay, move on. Number 13 in the world at middleweight, Paulo Costa versus 14 Roman Kopylov. This one's tough, man, because Costa used to be a beast. Let's just look at their rankings really quickly here. Okay, Costa's still 14-4 after all these years, and even that slide that he's been on. And Kopylov now at 14-3, right? Let's take a little trip down memory lane here. Costa, if we all recall, had been a beast. He was killing everybody. That crazy fight against Romero. He gets the title shot, and he doesn't really show up against Izzy. Then he gets outboxed by Vettori. He does come back and win a hard-fought battle against Rockhold, but then only to get outclassed by Whitaker. And then very close split decision loss to Strickland, where he was in the fight, and that was a while ago. He hasn't fought in a year now. And so I just don't know what Costa you're going to get. He did claim that after that Strickland loss, he's just going to go for broke again. He's going to be that crazy killer that we all loved when he went on that title run before he lost to Izzy. Okay. By the way, I forgot to mention, this is a co-main, which also makes this card just, listen, I love Costa, but this is not a co-main, bro. Maybe if it was Costa from 3 years ago, this is ridiculous that you're going to have Holloway and Poirier at the top of the card and not the best co-main in the history of co-mains. But anyway, look at Kopylov. Now, this guy has won 7 of 8 fights. This is a very scary individual. And a lot of knockouts. His only loss is to Hernandez, maybe the wrestling boogeyman of the division. He got submitted by Hernandez, okay? But everybody else, he's basically finished since 2021, 4 straight years. The smart pick is Kopylov. And just so we can see the line, Kopylov is a minus 255. Okay, Rich and Nico both being smart and taking Kopylov because that is smart money. He's got the reach. Costa just doesn't look like he's the same guy. He doesn't really go for broke. But I'm taking Costa one last time, baby, because I got a 10-fight lead on Nico. I can take the underdogs. And I feel like maybe Costa, just like Lewis, will say, you know what? I'm going to come out and throw bombs on this Kopylov guy. And Kopylov loves to stand and throw hands. And maybe that will be his demise. And Costa comes back heavy and gets a win for Wally here. Okay, I'm taking the big underdog. That's my big underdog pick of the night. All right, main event. I know I've been talking crap on it. As far as a lightweight fight, it's a good fight. Poirier's number 6 in the world. Holloway's number 5 in the world after beating Gaethje. Let's just look at the records and then I'll break it down. Holloway now, after all these years, he is a warrior. He's 26-8. Dustin Poirier 30-9. So 2 great fighters. We all know that this is the trilogy. Poirier beat him really young. He submitted him with an armbar. Then Holloway tried to come up to lightweight years later after he had won 13 straight. And then he lost to Poirier again. So this is the trilogy. He does want to get it back. Normally, I would say Holloway doesn't have a shot because he can't win at lightweight. But then he just came up and beat Gaethje. So you never know, right? So if we just look at Holloway first, we don't need to look at the whole record. So he lost to Volk for the 3rd time, but then he beats Allen. He beats Jung. He beats Gaethje, and then just to lose to Poirier. But he was in that first round, so he didn't look terrible. So he's still there. He's still relevant. I just don't know if he's going to be big enough, man. Like, he did look bigger against Gaethje, but he's just been a featherweight for so long. He's so thin. I just don't know if he has the girth and the power and the size to deal with Poirier. The one thing I will say, though, that does make this more of a relevant fight is that Holloway did come out and say he is making his home lightweight now. So, Rich, fine. I like it a little bit better. It's still not a main event fight, but at least he's saying, okay, I'm staying at lightweight. So if he does get this win, now he's, a top 5 guy, and he might be right in the mix for, right around a title shot if he gets 1 or 2 wins here. So fine. Poirier, on the other hand, let's just look back at what he's done. So listen, he had been almost at the top of the world after beating Conor, but then he lost to Oliveira for the belt. Then he comes back and he beats Chandler, but then only to lose to Gaethje in that crazy fight. But then he resets himself and beats Saint Denis to then lose to Makhachev. But man, what a heroic effort. No one has fought Islam better, man. He was in it. I think you could even have argued it might have been 2-2 going into that final round, or only 3-1 Islam, something like that. But he was in the fight. He was really giving Islam all that he can handle. And then he finally got submitted all the way in the 5th round. So he's still very relevant. I almost wish he wasn't retiring. I would like this fight a little bit better if it wasn't for the BMF belt and it wasn't a retirement fight, but it was just a nice, highly contested lightweight fight. So Poirier is a -102, and Holloway is a slight favorite with the -118. Rich is taking Holloway, going with the favorite here, going with the boy from Hawaii. But Nico and Wally both taking Dustin. Let's go. Poirier gets it done for his last fight, his retirement fight. And I say, if he wins this in dramatic fashion, if he gets a first or a second round finish, he stays, baby. He might want to test to Poirier, okay? Maybe he doesn't retire. That's what I'm hoping here. Yes, I'm not that pumped on it. It is one of the worst UFC pay-per-view cards in recent memory. But at the same time, I'm a fight junkie and I like some of these fights. And I do like the implications. If Poirier can get through Max, he might stay. And then if Max beats Poirier, he's then positioned to be a top 5 contender. So it's not bad. I don't hate it. You'll see me popping off Saturday night in New Orleans. Let's go, baby. Okay, that's it for this week. Thank you for listening to the MMA Savvy podcast, the world's top place for MMA content. If you love these weekly episodes, make sure to hit subscribe. And if you're a real MMA enthusiast, check out all the old MMA Savvy videos on our page. You might see some UFC legends pop up, such as Fabricio Verdum, Ronda Rousey, and John Jones. The old channel has been revived, and we couldn't be more excited. Please subscribe, follow, comment, like, and share on all of our social channels. We're blasting hard on the talk. We're heavy on the gram, and we're going crazy on the tube. That's at MMA Savvy. And make sure to comment and challenge our takes if you have disagreements. We love the comments and interactions with the fans. So with that, stay savvy, fight fans.